In that Naperville, Illinois living room, under the Christmas tree lights flickering behind him and the fireplace's tinsel gleaming, my father spoke with an unwavering tone. It was neither angry nor sorrowful, but resolute, as if the conclusion had been reached long before our conversation. "You're merely a trophy boyfriend, Ethan. She admitted it herself. She's exploiting you." The revelation left me feeling like my understanding of the past 2 years of my life had crumbled. Merely 48 hours earlier, I was wrapping a ring box in silver paper. I will recount to you every detail of that night, and by the end of this tale, I promise you'll comprehend why I am thankful for each word he spoke to me, even though hearing it came close to shattering me. My name is Ethan Calloway, 31 years old. For nearly 2 years, I've been a structural engineer working for a Chicago-based firm, and until half a year past, I was profoundly enamored with a woman named Brooke Hartley. If you've ever experienced someone you believed in wholeheartedly betray your trust, this narrative might strike a chord deep within you. Hit that subscribe button immediately, drop a comment sharing if you've been through something similar, as you aren't alone in this experience. Let's delve into it. My friend Kyle coaxed me to a rooftop bar in River North on a Thursday night, late September, 2 years ago. I had secluded myself following my last relationship's unfortunate end, indulging in takeout and documentaries for 4 months prior. I wasn't eager to be there. In jeans and an old jacket from college, I showed no interest in socializing. Then Brooke entered with her two friends who were dressed for a night out. Yet Brooke stood out effortlessly. With dark auburn hair, a contagious laugh, and a smile that made you feel accomplished, she noticed me staring. Admittedly, it wasn't my proudest moment. Instead of avoiding eye contact, she subtly acknowledged me by slightly elevating her drink towards me, as if we shared a secret. I've rewound that incident countless times. That small gesture, selecting me from the crowd. We conversed for 3 hours that night. She was a marketing director at a mid-sized tech firm in the city center. Intelligent, humorous, and opinionated in the right ways. Her listening skills made you feel like your words were the most captivating she'd heard all week. On North State Street sidewalk, we remained for 40 minutes after closing down the bar, neither ready to bid goodnight. By our third date, I was disappearing. By our sixth, I was contemplating a future that I had never considered before. By our first anniversary, I was mentally appraising engagement rings. I comprehend. Here's what you should grasp about Brooke and me. If I omit this part, you won't grasp why that Christmas dinner affected me as it did. We were not merely dating, we had a life. Or so I believed. I would travel 45 minutes to Evanston for her apartment at least 4 nights weekly. We prepared Sunday dinners together. She had a penchant for Sunday pasta, always homemade, always with whatever fresh herbs she had left from the week. I was familiar with her coffee preference, her dislike of bright lighting above, the music she required to drift off to sleep, her habit of biting her lower lip when reading something troubling. 8 months into our relationship, I met her parents for the first time at a dinner in their Naperville home, the Hartley residence. Glenn, a retired lawyer, was methodical in his speech, pouring wine and observation. Patricia, on the other hand, was more outgoing, providing food, filling gaps with questions, but I observed early that both shared the same habit: they watched. The initial dinner seemed smooth to me, or so I thought. Glenn displayed interest in my work as a structural engineer, probing with questions that hinted at genuine listening. Patricia asked about my family. In Columbus, Ohio, my residence is shared with my parents. My elder sister, Lauren, works as a pediatric nurse in Cincinnati. I maintained honesty in all responses. Throughout much of the evening, Brooke clutched my hand under the table. Upon our return home, she disclosed that her parents harbored affection for me. I saw no grounds for skepticism. During the subsequent year and a half, I encountered Glenn and Patricia approximately 8 to 9 times. These encounters included holidays, a birthday dinner for Brooke, a weekend trip to their lake house in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, among others. I believed our relationship was progressing positively. I nurtured the idea of a genuine bond with their family. I made preparations to purchase an engagement ring 4 months prior, a solitaire diamond set on a platinum band. My plan was to propose on New Year's Eve in Chicago. We had watched fireworks from the rooftop of our friend Jamie's condo in Gold Coast the previous year, and I had envisioned a repeat of that moment, complete with champagne and the city illuminated beneath us. I hadn't shared my engagement with anyone except my sister Lauren, who tearfully reacted to a picture of the ring followed by queries about venues. The invite for Christmas dinner at the Hartley household arrived 2 weeks prior to the festive season, casually forwarded by Brooke as if it were ordinary. Her mother's text was passed on to Ethan, inviting him to Christmas Eve. I confirmed my attendance in response. Wrapped in silver paper and concealed in my apartment with the New Year's plan unaltered, Brooke's ring lay hidden. I had no inkling of what was impending. Something about Brooke became clearer to me only much later. She had a tightly knit group of friends. Her college-era best friend was Cassidy Park, with whom she shared a dorm room and countless life moments. Then there was Tara Weston, an advertising professional who tended to transform everything into a spectacle. Me and Gallion were less talkative compared to the other pair, but their conversation felt subtly probing. I admired Cassidy sincerely. She was amusing and frank, treating me like a real person since our first encounter. Tara was enigmatic. Her words could be construed in two ways depending on her inflection, and her cheerful demeanor added to the puzzle. Mia remained an enigma throughout. Approximately 3 weeks before Christmas, I found myself at Brooke's apartment in Evanston. Cassidy, Tara, and Mia joined us for a girls' night wine gathering, as Brooke put it. She asked if I'd mind staying in the bedroom for a couple of hours, to which I agreed without any reservations. I had a book and some emails to catch up on, no issue. What Brooke didn't know was that I left my phone on the coffee table in the living room. I realized this about 40 minutes after they all arrived. I went out to retrieve it. The living room is directly accessible from the entrance. From the bedroom, a corridor leads close by the couch where they were gathered. Before rounding the corner, I heard my name called out. I paused. I was aware it wasn't ideal. I should have simply entered, apologized for interrupting, picked up my phone, and returned to the bedroom. But hearing my name halted me abruptly. It was Tara speaking. Frankly, Ethan is the most endearing. He's so devoted, it's rather endearing. Then Brooke uttered something that left me breathless. He truly is. He'd go to great lengths for me. That's essentially why he's here. Cassidy said something indistinct. Again, it was Brooke, her voice low and casual, as if discussing an ordinary matter. No, Cass, I'm serious. He's precisely what I required at this moment. He makes me seem stable to my parents. He's emotionally available without being overbearing, and he won't ever pressure me because he's so grateful for my presence. Mia chuckled softly. You seem to see this as bleak, Brooke, but I genuinely feel fondness for him. I'm not deceiving you about everything. I merely wish to clarify what our relationship signifies to me and what it doesn't. I stood in that hallway for a lengthy moment, then returned to the bedroom silently without my phone. On her bed, I sat pondering over what I'd just listened to. Initially, I thought perhaps I had misconstrued your words, that they were a piece of something bigger, taken out of context. If I'd heard the entire discussion, it might have made sense in another way. People often express sentiments in private that don't fully disclose the truth. People put on acts for their companions. I was aware of this. However, there was an undeniable certainty in your tone, a hint that you had expressed these words before, suggesting they were not a sudden revelation, but rather a known fact. That night, I chose not to challenge her. Instead, I told myself I needed time to contemplate. 20 minutes later, I returned, grabbing my phone off the coffee table with a casual grin, exchanging greetings with the ladies, then retreating to my room. However, I left my voice memo app running when they were all gathered together. I'd like to make it clear that this act doesn't fill me with pride. It was a desperate move. I did it because there was a part of me, the one with a ring in my apartment, and 2 years invested in creating a life around this woman, that needed confirmation of what I believed I had heard. 3 weeks later, on the eve of Christmas, Brooke invited the girls over again. My schedule said I should be running errands, but I returned early instead. I left my phone on the kitchen counter, recording secretly, while I feigned going back to my car for something I'd supposedly forgotten. I waited in my car in the underground parking lot beneath her building for an hour and 20 minutes. Upon returning, I collected my phone. The conversation on the recording transformed everything. I won't repeat the entire discussion, but the crucial part was about me, as spoken by Brooke, expressing her thoughts about a relationship with clarity and certainty. She mentioned my intention for New Year's and her perception of my plans. He has something planned for New Year's, she said. I can sense it. Will you let it progress that far? Cassidy inquired. And for the first time, there was an uncomfy tone in Cassidy's voice, a tension I hadn't picked up on the initial listen. I'm not sure, maybe. He treats me well, Cass, truly well, but, Cassidy said. There was a pause then, but I don't see it as permanent. I feel it will be comfortable for a while more until I figure out what I truly want. Does he know that? Brooke didn't respond immediately. Then, he knows I love him. Another pause followed. I do love him. Tara commented on how their dynamic was more truthful than most relationships, which Mia concurred. Cassidy fell silent. Later, Brooke uttered something that has played over in my mind countless times since then. He gives his entire heart to me. It's beautiful, but it also troubles me sometimes because it makes everything so simple. He never doubts me, he just loves and trusts me implicitly. And I know I'm secure. Secure. I was her secure haven as she navigated what she truly desired. For 2 days, I pondered over that recording. Christmas Eve arrived. I ventured to Naperville. Upon reaching the Hartley residence, their house was adorned with white lights along the rooftop and had a wreath on the front door. Smoke billowed from the chimney, painting a picture-perfect scene. Brooke was already indoors, having come earlier to aid her mother with the cooking. Glenn opened the door. Since that night, I've pondered over Glenn Hartley frequently, regarding what it seemed to demand from him to perform that action. He was an attorney for 3 decades, skilled at communicating tough truths. Perhaps he recognized that the act he was about to commit would cause pain to someone undeserving, yet he proceeded, because he believed it was the correct course. I admire his conviction now. At the time, it felt as jarring as a car collision. He shook my hand at the door, took my coat, and guided me not towards the living room filled with family and holiday tunes, but into his study. Dark wooden panels, towering bookshelves, a desk that looked like an heirloom. "Ethan," he began, motioning to one of the chairs in front of the desk, choosing the seat beside it rather than behind it. "I have something difficult to discuss with you." I complied and sat down. "You appear to be a commendable young man," he said. He stated this action was necessary because his daughter has discussed you with him and his wife in a manner that indicates she does not hold the relationship as highly as you do. She described you as someone she is using for support while figuring out her life's direction. According to him, she referred to you as her trophy boyfriend, implying that you enhance her appearance and give an impression of being settled. But there are no plans to advance the relationship further. Glenn concluded by saying that he and his wife felt it was important for you to understand this before making any irreversible decisions, as they had agreed one of them should disclose this truth if she didn't. He seemed to be looking at your left hand or jacket pocket, possibly suggesting a lack of intention for a commitment. 31-year-old man from Naperville, Glenn Hartley, former attorney, had discovered a ring nearby. The room was hushed, only disturbed by distant house noises, music, merriment, and Patricia conversing with Brooke about the turkey. I stayed silent for a while before fishing my phone out of my coat pocket. I must be truthful about my state at that time, as this isn't a tale of a man with a premeditated strategy. I wasn't collected. I wasn't some mastermind who foreseen numerous moves ahead. Instead, I was a flustered individual sitting in a retired attorney's study on Christmas Eve, clutching a ring and operating a recording device while battling turmoil within. Simultaneously, a part of me felt relief because the uncertainty ended, yet another part was distraught as the absence of doubt confirmed my fears. This dual emotion enveloped me. The confirmation I had dreaded was delivered to me by Glenn Hartley, his voice tinged with the measured compassion born from decades in courtrooms, where he learned to communicate unwelcome truths. My hands remained unshaken, an observation that startled me, given I had listened to that recording multiple times. Yet when Glenn shared Brooke's words to her parents, a clarity emerged, not revenge, not score settling, but pure truth. To Mr. Hartley, I expressed my gratitude for his candidness and felt it essential to reciprocate with honesty. He nodded, observing me. 3 weeks prior, I unintentionally heard something troubling. Uncertain of what I had heard, I decided to record a subsequent conversation. Pausing, I stated, "I'm not playing games. I merely want you to listen to your daughter's genuine voice as she discusses this relationship in private. What you shared aligns with my recording, and I believe it's crucial for you to hear it." Glenn remained still. I played the recording. The conversation was clear thanks to Brooke's apartment's good acoustics. Her voice was audible while Cassidy's voice was slightly softer. Tara exuded confidence and authenticity, while Brooke spoke in her familiar tone. She was discernibly viewing me as a transient solace during her self-exploration of the future. Glenn remained unmoved throughout, his hands resting calmly in his lap. Though his facial expression barely altered, his jaw tensed when Brooke mentioned, "It simplifies everything." Afterward, he remained silent for a full half-minute before admitting, "I owe you an apology." Upon my questioning gaze, he clarified, "I had implied this was your fault, that perhaps you misunderstood or unwittingly filled a convenient role." Brooke seemed to imply you were the one who clung too tightly, acted too sincerely, and exhibited excessive naivete, failing to perceive the relationship clearly. He paused, then added, "The recording implies something contrary. It hints that she has been intentionally nurturing your trust while concealing her true intentions. This wasn't due to your innocence, but rather an action taken by her." I was at a loss for words. He inquired about your plans. Before I could respond, the study door creaked open. Brooke stood there, adorned in a green sweater and dark jeans, a towel slung over her shoulder with an expression I'd never seen on her face before, not anger, not shock exactly. More like when someone realizes that two distinct spheres have just intersected irreversibly. "Dad," she cautiously stated. "What's happening?" Glenn scrutinized her for a while, then turned his gaze to me. I rose from my seat. "We've been conversing," I disclosed. Slowly, Brooke entered the room, and I observed her eyes shift from her father to me, then to the phone still in my grasp. Her eyes remained fixed on the phone. "Ethan," she said softly, and her voice displayed its usual attempt at tactfully handling situations. In a restrained tone, I attempted to find a reasonable middle ground. "Regarding what my father discussed with you, I suggested I played the recording for Brooke." The ensuing silence was deafening. Her facial expression underwent a complex transformation. For 2 years, I had cherished that face. I knew all its incarnations. However, this one was new to me. It was the expression of someone instantaneously assessing the extent of the harm and determining if any part could be repaired. "You recorded our conversation?" she asked. "The first time I unintentionally overheard it," I replied. "But for the second conversation, I needed to verify whether I had misconstrued things." She turned her gaze to Glenn. "Dad," she said, but he responded softly and firmly, "Brooke, don't manage me, I'm not a client." For a brief moment, she closed her eyes. Upon opening them again, she looked at me with an emotion I hadn't anticipated. It wasn't defiance, nor an act of feigned pain. Instead, it seemed more like fatigue. The weariness of being visible again following an extended absence. "I do love you," she asserted. "What I said, it wasn't entirely truthful." "I understand," I replied. "I know you love me, Brooke. I picked up on that part as well, but I heard the rest too, the part about your affection not being the same as mine and how this doesn't feel permanent to you." She remained silent. "Were you intending to inform me of this?" I inquired. "At any point." Her silence served as an answer. Upon Patricia's entrance from the hallway, it was clear she had overheard the gist of our conversation. She looked at Glenn, who subtly acknowledged something that left me out of the loop. "I believe," Patricia whispered, "that maybe Ethan and Brooke could benefit from some solitude." We stayed in Glenn's study for approximately 20 minutes after her parents departed. Since then, I've pondered over that discussion extensively, attempting to piece it together much like how I analyze situations at work. In a systematic manner, Brooke attempted to alter the recording, stating the context was omitted, claiming it was friendly banter among friends, expressing sentiments towards Cassidy and Tara and Mia that she wouldn't voice directly to me because of group dynamics. I acknowledged her explanation. I also made it clear that her words were not merely overstated emotions, but an accurate portrayal of her perspective on our relationship. I knew this because everything she described, my devotion, trust, openness, was genuine. She hadn't fabricated a version of me. She had simply chosen not to disclose the implications of these traits for her. "I didn't intend to hurt you," she said. "I know," I replied. "That's not an excuse." "No," I confirmed, "it isn't." She inquired if I was planning to propose. After a moment's pause, I affirmed this. She covered her mouth, tears welled up in her eyes. Here's the complication. I trusted her when she confessed her love and when she admitted it wasn't the full truth. Simultaneously, both statements held their truth without minimizing or alleviating the pain. "I'm sorry, Ethan," she whispered. "I truly am." "I understand," I replied, "because I did." For another moment of silence, I reminisced about our shared Sunday pasta dinners and playlists for drifting off to sleep in my Chicago apartment. About 2 years of believing I was constructing something with her, only to realize I was merely providing temporary support while she decided what she truly desired. In essence, I was a structural engineer. The irony wasn't lost on me. I grabbed my jacket from the chair and declared, "I think I should leave." Brooke gave a slight nod. She seemed smaller than usual. "Are you all right?" pondered within me. "Not at this moment," I responded. "However, I shall be." I exited into the corridor. Glenn was situated in the living room with Patricia. Upon hearing my approach, he raised his gaze. "Thank you," I expressed, acknowledging his sincerity. Glenn rose, traversed the room, and extended his hand. As our hands met, he held mine for a prolonged moment, using both. "You're a fine individual, Ethan," he said. "The one destined to find you will be incredibly fortunate." Patricia embraced me silently for a brief instant. Times call for actions rather than words. I journeyed back to Chicago on Christmas Eve with the radio silent, the metropolis lights of the skyline expanding in the windshield as I neared the Dan Ryan Expressway. From the highway, downtown was breathtaking, every structure aglow with light against the dark December firmament. I sobbed for approximately 10 minutes near the Chinatown exit, then halted as I reached the unscathed part of myself. This self acknowledged the truth in Glenn Hartley's study and understood its significance. It was crucial information, hideous as it was. The ensuing events unfolded over the subsequent 6 weeks, and I'll recount them all. Brooke phoned me twice on Christmas Day. I didn't pick up. She sent extended, sincere texts, ones I recognized as heartfelt rather than damage control. I read every single one but didn't reply to any of them. My sister Lauren contacted me on Christmas morning. She knew about the engagement ring. When I shared what had transpired, she cycled through all 5 stages of grief in just 4 minutes, and by the end was saying things like, "I suspected there was something amiss about how she interacted with you at my birthday dinner." I remained silent as you were overjoyed, a pattern often observed in ending significant relationships. Later, everyone seems to recall undisclosed matters. On Christmas afternoon, I found myself alone at my apartment in Lincoln Square, enjoying Thai cuisine and a documentary about ancient Roman engineering, a fitting choice given the context. The ring was returned to the jeweler by early January, who provided me with a complete store credit that I eventually utilized for an excellent watch, a purchase I've never regretted. Returning to work in the second week of January, I felt the vigor of someone striving to demonstrate my worth, not to others, but to myself. I immersed myself in a project I had long postponed, drafting a proposal for the rehabilitation design of an old industrial building in Pilsen, transforming it into mixed-use residential space. The intricate structural work was precisely what I required to keep my mind occupied. I'd like to share another relevant detail regarding the narrative. This incident occurred around early February, approximately 6 weeks post-Christmas. An unrecognized number called me, and upon answering, I heard Cassidy Park's voice. She had managed to get my contact information, and it was later revealed that she acquired it from Brooke. This fact in itself suggested something significant. "I'm aware of what transpired at Christmas," Cassidy said. "Everything." There was a brief pause. "There's something you didn't hear that night when you left the room," she continued. "You overheard our conversation, but what you missed was a nearly half-hour discussion I had with Brooke following your departure. During this time, I confronted Brooke about her dishonesty and emphasized the importance of having an honest conversation between the two of you. However, she disagreed and felt she was being considerate by staying quiet. I'm not phoning to defend her actions," Cassidy clarified. "I'm making this call because I developed a liking for you from our first encounter, and it pained me to witness this situation unfold." Cassidy explained that she wanted me to understand she wasn't a fan of Brooke, as heard in the recording, but I missed that part because it was said during their kitchen conversation while washing dishes. She considered telling me this since you deserve to know not everyone agreed with how Brooke was handling things. Moreover, Cassidy believed I would be okay, and she wanted me to understand someone who knows Brooke well sees this clarity. I thanked her for the call, which turned out to be significant in ways I'm still processing. The truth is, being deceived by someone you care for can make you question your judgment about others as well. If my understanding of Brooke was incorrect after 2 years of close interaction, weekly dinners, sharing a bed, and knowing intricate details about her, then what else had eluded me? What had I failed to perceive due to being overly trusting? Cassidy's call offered some clarity. It revealed that not all within our circle were at ease with the situation, that someone who knew Brooke well had observed the same dynamic and had attempted to challenge it, suggesting that I was not uniquely naive or foolish. Instead, I had been in love with someone who chose love as a reason for silence. This realization brought more understanding than I anticipated. I also wish to share an incident from work, as it resonates with this narrative despite appearing unrelated at first glance. In late January, roughly a month post-Christmas, I found myself discussing the Pilsen project with my colleague Derek Okonkwo, who has been with our firm for the longest tenure. Derek is one of those individuals who rarely speaks in meetings, but when he does, his words carry significant weight. During our discourse on the structural assessment of a load-bearing wall within one of the original building sections, which appeared intact on the surface, yet our preliminary examination hinted at hidden interior damage, Derek examined the scans and remarked, "The wall has been compensating. Some alteration occurred long ago, and everything surrounding it merely readjusted. It's managed to stay upright because the nearby structure has been taking on additional responsibilities to support it. Despite its appearance of strength, it has been brittle for years." He was not referring to Brooke. Instead, he spoke about a century-old industrial building in Pilsen. In the conference room, I felt the implications strike close to home. I had been exerting additional effort, making up for an imbalance in our relationship where responsibilities weren't equally shared, and it seemed adequate from afar. Our appearance of strength was unquestionable. However, beneath the surface lay vulnerabilities hidden from prying eyes. Derek's analogy about the wall emphasized the necessity of addressing the root causes before constructing upon them. Superficial repairs would not suffice. We had to delve deeper, undertake the tougher tasks, and mend what was truly fractured for our renovation to thrive. Since then, I've pondered these thoughts extensively in the ensuing weeks. Now, having navigated through it all, this is what I've come to understand. I recall the individual who spent an hour and 20 minutes in a car parked beneath Brooks' building in Evanston, listening to a conversation on the phone while tears streamed down their face. That person was desperate and seeking resolution. He clung to something while instinctively feeling it slipping, yet he wasn't a hero. Rather, he was petrified, enamored, and struggling to discern reality. The statement Glenn Hartley shared in that study was one of the hardest I'd encountered in years. He presented it like a competent lawyer conveying harsh truths, clearly, without cruelty, without flair. And he was correct, not entirely, but enough to make me question my understanding of reality. I wasn't completely naive or oblivious. I had sensed something disquieting enough to act upon it. However, Glenn was right that a truth I'd lived alongside remained hidden from me, and I needed someone to plainly reveal it. Similarly, what Brooke spoke after was accurate. She did love me, she regretted. Neither were sufficient to construct a future on, but they were real. The recording I played during that Christmas Eve event in the study, that's what made truth inescapable. Not for revenge or public humiliation, but because when someone portrays an inaccurate version of oneself to their circle, making one appear overly attached, naive, or blind to what's truly happening, yet in reality understanding everything, there is a sense of clarity in letting the truth reveal itself. I wasn't there to dismantle Brooke's relationship with her parents, or create a spectacle, or mete out punishment. I had arrived for Christmas dinner with the people believed to be future in-laws, bearing an ungiven ring and planning an unsaid proposal. In just 20 minutes within a wooden study, where a man chose to share the truth, my entire future vision shifted dramatically. Occasionally, the most compassionate act someone can bestow is the truth, even when it hurts deeply. 6 months have passed since last Christmas. As promised to Brooke, I'm carrying on with my plans. I'm not just okay, but generally good on most days. In March, the Pilsen project was given approval and construction began in April, providing me with an engaging diversion and a fulfillment I haven't felt in years. I still reside in Lincoln Square, occasionally enjoying solitary Thai meals during holidays, yet I find it less bothersome than before. A few weeks after the incident, my father phoned. I informed him of the broad strokes split-up finished. He's fine. However, he rang back later on a Sunday, which is when he often thinks deeply. "Ethan," he said, "may I share something with you?" I agreed. "The fact that her father confessed to you," my dad stated, "that's not trivial. That's actually a man acting honorably in a challenging situation. In your silence and restraint, not letting the situation escalate or become unpleasant, it speaks volumes about your character." My father predicted, "You will encounter someone, and when you do, you'll discern the distinction. For now, you understand what it signifies when someone is fully engaged versus maintaining distance. You can distinguish between a person who delivers harsh truths and one who offers comforting falsities. That's not insignificant. In reality, it's quite substantial." I find myself reflecting on this conversation more than any other from the past 6 months. My father from Columbus, during a Sunday phone call, hitting the nail on the head perfectly. The truth is, I spent 2 years with Brooke that were genuinely positive in many aspects. The Sunday dinners, the rooftop bar where we first met, the sleep playlist, these weren't fabricated. The feelings were authentic, even if they weren't mutual. On Christmas Eve, Glenn Hartley sat opposite me, valuing my time in his heart over his daughter's comfort. Thus, I exited that house with honesty instead of a proposal that would have been rejected or accepted for the wrong reasons. The voice memo from our conversation is still saved on my phone. I no longer play it, but I haven't deleted it either. It serves as a reminder of when clarity set in, when I shifted from being supportive to being an individual again. If you're currently grappling with something similar, doubts that remain unconfirmed, an encounter that felt off, a suspicion that the one you love is hiding something, I'm not urging you to secretly record anyone. Trust your instincts, rely on what you comprehend, heed the unease within you that hints at something amiss, despite outward appearances suggesting joyous festivities and a picture-perfect holiday decor. The truth might not be comfortable, but it's always preferable. Sometimes the messenger of this truth is an unexpected source, like the father of the woman you once envisioned as your spouse, seated in a study adorned with wood paneling in Naperville, Illinois, on Christmas Eve, striving to do what's right. I owe Glenn Hartley for that. I'll be thankful for a considerable period. What struck me most about this tale wasn't the recording or the father's intervention. It was the fact that Ethan had already suspected something awry. Deep down, he sensed it, though he lacked the words to articulate it then. I suspect many of us linger in such situations longer than necessary because knowing and accepting seem synonymous, but they are not. Knowing merely implies information. Making up your mind can be challenging. If there's something on your mind that deep down you feel isn't quite right, perhaps it's past due to stop seeking approval and rely on your own instincts instead. Go ahead and share below, have you ever intuited the truth before someone eventually verbalized it? And if you haven't signed up yet, what keeps you from doing so? Fresh stories each week await you.